and welcome to ManGuard Rovers. I'm Shaun. I've got Phil with me as always. Good evening, Phil. How you doing?
Very good. I'm very good, thank you. Very good. Ready
Good
to
stuff.
roll.
Good week of football for some, frustrating for others. Last weekend was shocking, wasn't it, for most of us, to be fair. But a good week in Europe so far for most of the English teams.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
certainly looking good for your boys clawing onto that, looking for that fifth Champions League spot in it. It seems like we're all doing you a favour. So,
yeah,
yeah, looking good.
it's good.
Looking
More
good.
points, more places is how it works in the Champions League. So obviously we like to get behind the English teams in the Champions League and Europe. Villa with a good result
Brilliant.
tonight, 1-0. Um, and
Yeah.
I believe Forest is 0-0 currently. But yeah, we'll touch more on Europe later on. But we'll get into our predictions and we'll touch on obviously what happened last weekend. This weekend it starts 12:32. First game is West Ham at home against Sunderland. Phil, do Sunderland carry on their good form?
Going to be an interesting game, is it? With Sunderland away from home. They've obviously made home form a fortress. Away from home, not quite so much. And obviously West Ham bouncing out of what's fast becoming the second charity match of the fixture round every week with whoever gets to play Tottenham. So, they're off on a high, aren't they? And hot on the heels of Nottingham Forest. They clawed 2 points back last weekend with that result. And yeah, they'll be on a high. I just don't think they'll be high enough. I think, we've touched on Sunderland have done a brilliant job over the last, forget the overall season, these last few weeks to, carry on that form while missing 7 players at the AFCON. Is quite unbelievable, really. And obviously, they've got all those players back now. That should, you would think, take them back, bouncing onto another level again. I mean, yes, there's an element of you've got to reintegrate them into the team and all that jazz, but fundamentally, it should see them bounce in terms of quality and just quality off the bench. So
Yeah,
I still think West Ham, I mean, let's face it, anybody could beat Tottenham, but I still think West Ham have still got the problems they've got. And I still think that Sunderland have got the bit between their teeth, particularly now you boys overtaking them. I
yeah,
think
we have now. Yeah, yeah,
so. They'll be keen to redress that balance because no doubt there's a lot of people walking around the northeast saying that normality has been restored, and no doubt Sunderland want to prove them wrong. So
certainly. Yeah,
I think that Sunderland might well have a chance on the travels. The London Stadium is very welcoming for visiting teams normally, much to West Ham's chagrin. So I think Sunderland will have too much for West Ham, and I think Sunderland take that match 2 goals to 1.
I've gone 3-0
2
for this one. I think Sunderland will be, like you say, yeah,
1.
3-0. I think to your point, West Ham still have problems. They got a good win against Spurs last week. I believe you correctly predicted that one, Phil.
Well,
You had it
it's not hard
3-1
to
to
predict
you had
Spurs
it
loss, is
3-1,
it?
so it wasn't
Did I
far
have
from
it
a cut there.
3-1? Oh,
You had it 3-1. Unlucky. I had it 3-1
see,
Spurs, but we won't talk about that. We won't talk about
until we get to Spurs.
that. But yeah, Sunderland, I expect them to carry on their good form. They got a cheeky little win last week. We thought we'd be a tough game against Palace. We both put a 1-1 draw for that one, to be fair. And fair play to Sunderland. They got 3 points out of that. So I expect them to continue. 3-0, I'm going to go for Sunderland.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. That's a good shout.
A 3 o'clock start with, I don't know if you want to call this a charity match, is Burnley host Spurs, Phil. Your second favourite team. Why don't you
I
fire
said
us
it's
off with this
fast
one?
coming. I said it's fast becoming a charity match, isn't it? I think Tottenham saved their first team for the Champions League apparently, and then just play. I don't know. They must empty the local pension zone for the Premier League matches. To be fair, but poor Thomas Frank must be. He's going to end up looking like me by the end of this season, trying to figure out what on earth happens to his players on a Saturday and Sunday compared to the team that rocks up on a Tuesday and a Wednesday. So,
It's like Plots
cracking
Part 2,
result
isn't
for
it?
them this week against Dortmund. Yeah, well, they played them. Even before Dortmund went down to 10 men, Spurs were all over them. Absolutely fantastic performance from Spurs. Um, which you want to see a reaction from the appalling performance at the weekend, but I don't know. You just wouldn't at all be shocked to see another appalling performance this weekend. They just can't string results together, and they almost just seem the Premier League seems like kryptonite to them. Like they just don't want to play in the Premier League for some reason. So I'm determined to stick to what I said last week. I feel for all you Spurs fans. I've had a taste of how crap your footballing life is early this season by putting my predictions behind Spurs, where I refuse to do it again. They're not tricking me back into it. There's no Glenn Hoddle or Ozzy Ardiles here anymore to save you. So not happening. Spurs are awful. Burnley aren't great, but Spurs are worse. So Where is that? Tottenham or
It's
Burnley?
at Burnley. It's at Burnley.
So, Spurs have been better on the road, but they won't be good enough. So Burnley take it 2-1. Burnley will take it 2-1. There's no way Spurs are winning. It's not happening. Not happening.
I'm not gonna be quite as optimistic. I'm gonna go for a 1-1 draw with this one. I can just see
Oh.
Burnley getting something from this, and a point would be good for them against Spurs. I think. They
Be honest, Spurs have broken your spirit. You were confidently supporting them last week. They
fuck
do it to
Spurs.
everybody. Don't worry. There'll be next time they're playing a home match. There'll be 60,000 Spurs fans who share your pain. Do you know what I mean? They just need to learn. There's
Got
only
enough
one
pain from
team in
last
North
weekend's
London who will
0-0
play
draw
in
with
red.
Wolves.
You are.
I said I've got enough pain with last week's 0-0 draw with Wolves, but we'll get onto that.
Oh, yes, yes. Very disappointing. But okay, cool. We
Yeah,
both think Burnley getting something out of the game, then. Eh?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I
Probably
believe
says
so. Yeah,
everything about where
where Spurs
Spurs are
are.
this season. That we both think that Burnley will get something out of that game. So it's not a great place for them to be. I do. For all I will never cease to mercilessly mock them. I do want. I do still want the Frank engine to pull out of the station and have a bit of a run and
Together.
hopefully I do hope he can do that. Conor Gallagher's not a bad signing, so clearly he's got some backing, regardless of the fact that most of the fans want him out. But yeah, I just think I don't know what Tottenham fans want. To be fair, they've got well, I don't know talk about a big six club. They're lucky to still be a Premier League club after last season. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
we'll see. Fulham at home to Brighton. Um, Tough one to call this one. I'm going to go 2-1 Brighton on this one. Fulham a bit poor last weekend against Leeds. Leeds winning that 1-0, I believe it was. Good 3 points
Yeah,
for Leeds there, to be fair. But yeah, Brighton are starting to click a little bit. I think Mitoma's back, playing well. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 to Brighton. What about yourself,
it's
Phil?
it's tough because I mean I watched Monday Night Football and Brighton were absolutely god awful in the first half. Only matched by how bloody brilliant they were in the second half. Like they absolutely pinned Bournemouth back and hammered them
Yeah,
for the second half, and it was very fortunate for Bournemouth that Brighton only got the one goal. To be fair, we've said that time and again how dangerous Brighton look always. Um, Fulham are playing some really good stuff and look much more solid, but a lot less inventive than Brighton. Um, is it at Fulham or is it at Brighton?
it's a Fulham.
It's at Fulham. So I think I'm going to go my first whipping out of the old Desmond for the weekend. I reckon I could see this being 2-2. I think Fulham will play better. I think Fulham will have the cosh, but I just think Brighton on the break might just snatch a couple, and I think you could see draw written all over that one. So I'll look at Desmond for I think it'll be an interesting game. Obviously, Harry Wilson's been on form,
Yeah,
but like you said, Matoma's back. Welbeck's playing well. I just think that game's pretty evenly matched. So we'll go with the draw
sound,
for that
sound.
one.
The charity match next, Man City at home against Wolves, 3 o'clock as well. Anything but a City win, Phil?
Well, I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because it is the charity match. Obviously, I'm completely unbiased to wanting Manchester City to win, lose, or draw. And clearly, they're capable of losing to a team whose entire population could fit inside the Etihad, which is quite staggering in the embarrassment that they should feel. And I think I read today that they're refunding the fans' tickets, the ones who travelled, which is the very
Yeah,
least they can do after that appalling performance. I mean, Rodri just looked a shadow of himself. Haaland looked frustrated. Obviously, the quite comedic after-match interview. Fair play to him for coming out after the result, but it wasn't a great interview. And yeah, I mean, yeah, regardless of any and all of that, and Wolves, might have looked a bit more spirit since the new manager came in, but it's at the Etihad. It's highly likely to be Guehi's debut. Still devastated that you didn't choose the right
yeah.
club, Mark. By the way, you should have come to Arsenal and had a proper career. But you choose to end it by going to the Etihad. That's not a problem. We'll let it off. So I do think it'll be his debut. They'll look more solid because of that. Oh, sorry, look. They won't look. They'll be more solid because of that. And I just think Manchester City could probably play an academy team and beat Wolves. I just can't see Wolves go. I think what Wolves will do is exactly what they did against Arsenal. I think they'll go in, they'll put 11 men behind the ball, and they'll hope maybe to try and snatch a goal right at the death, or try and get a set piece somewhere. But I can't see a lot of inventiveness coming from Wolves. And I just think City will have enough. Someone somewhere will pull out a moment of magic that we don't see coming likely, and we'll probably break that resistance. So I'll probably see quite a battling performance from Wolves, and but one where we probably end up talking about a lot of positives for Wolves other than the result. So I'm going to say Manchester City, but I don't think they'll make it easy for themselves because I don't think they're in great form. I don't think they're in great confidence. So Manchester City 2-0, I think, probably.
We're going to put the same as you. I had 2-0 written down. I'll give City benefit of the doubt. I'll go 3. Let's hope it's Haaland that scores. Is it time to stop
Fingers
captaining
crossed.
him?
No, no, he's he's
No.
he's too he's too he's too. Although I did see a couple of people pull a couple of blinders in fantasy football last week, and someone captain Gabriel, which I thought was quite a good would shout. I can't remember someone else captained a midfielder, which I thought was quite good. But fundamentally, you've only got to look at the total points. It doesn't matter the fact he's on a poor streak. He's so far in front in terms of point scoring. And you've got to fancy his chances of having a goal or two against Wolves because he's desperate to get a goal, and Guardiola's not going to not play him, and and he's desperate to get up and running again. He's not going to have an easier chance than playing against the bottom team at home. They're in bad form. All right, City aren't in great form, but City's bad form. Well, let's be honest. We're talking about City aren't in great form. They're sat joint second in the Premier League. Wolves on their best season can't match City on their worst season. So you've still got to fancy Haaland to get a couple of goals at the weekend. Of course you have, and so I think not captaining would be brave, but I think a risky endeavour for me.
It's just sod's law, and it's like I don't mind taking a risk now and again. I've done it before, and it's cost me a lot of points. I think my last risk cost me 50 points by not captaining Thiago and taking him out of the squad. So yeah, and every time
Staying in mind, just so you know, just cheer you up. Don't you worry.
tough
He's earned
one,
his
tough one.
place for a few weeks yet.
5:30 to kick off. We've got Bournemouth at home against Liverpool. A tough one for Liverpool. This, I reckon.
Well, you just following on from your last point. To be fair, I mean, I was tossing and turning with my strikers for fantasy football prior to this weekend, and then for all I have mocked Anthony Gordon over recent weeks, I think Ekatike has taken the award for the dumbest haircut ever I've seen. What was that? Have you seen it?
Oh,
Oh my God! Somebody must have been painting double yellow lines and has painted the top of his head because it's literally bright yellow. Like,
wow.
what on earth have you done to your haircut, you crazy fool? So on that basis alone, I refuse to put him back in my fantasy football team. Can't do it. Just insane.
Oh
Um,
man.
and it's a tough trip on the road for Liverpool. This, I think, Bournemouth obviously suffering the loss of Semenyo. Like I said, they looked really good in the first half against Brighton on Monday. They looked toothless and tired going forward in the second half, but they did look solid in defence and they didn't make it easy for Brighton. And I don't think they'll make it easy for Liverpool. And I do think that Liverpool look a lot better in Europe than they do in the Premier League. Partly because I think they've obviously got players who are newer to the Premier League all throughout their squad at the minute, and I do think the pace. Whilst the quality is higher in the Champions League, the pace of the game suits Liverpool better in the Champions League, which is I think why they've still continued to do well in the Champions League in
Yeah.
spite of the ropey Premier League form. But I don't think Bournemouth will make it easy for them. I don't think they'll let them have that reduction of tempo because if you're Bournemouth, that's the way to keep Liverpool under pressure. So, um, but I do still think I would side with Liverpool because I just think Bournemouth are going to struggle to create enough. So I'm going to say Liverpool take it 1-0, but I don't think it'll be an easy 1-0. I think they'll just edge it. Because I don't think Bournemouth will be able to score. Um, so yeah, Liverpool 1-0. I think.
I'm gonna go one apiece on this one. Liverpool Premier League form's not great, is it, at the minute? They've got 1-1 draw last week against Burnley, who played pretty well at keeping them out. To be fair, Liverpool didn't take the chances. Bournemouth, yeah, missing some menu, but they're still lively up front, aren't they? Is Clivert back yet, or is he still out?
Not sure.
No, I need to
Don't
check that.
know.
He's because he's looked really good in the moments I've seen him this season. Again, he featured in my team a lot last year, so it might be one I would keep my own to potentially bring him back in. But yeah, Yeah, I just see Bournemouth getting a point out of this one, frustrating Liverpool again. So
I would hope so. And I mean, obviously, from your perspective, it helps your boys if Liverpool drop points. I mean, I'm gonna take my what is it they keep saying as an Arsenal fan? I should enjoy the moment. So I'll take my point of enjoying it and going, Liverpool are too far down the table for me to care. Um, really, what happens to them because they're out of my league. But it helps your boys, doesn't it? So and it helps our Nathan's lads as well to keep him off his back
yeah,
because I do think Villa have got some tough weeks ahead. You look at clearly Emery feels that way after his mini meltdown last weekend in his interview. So clearly he's feeling the pressure. Um, so yeah, it's you know, I mean, I don't know. I am torn because I would like to see Liverpool putting up a bit more of a fight. It's nice to see champions fight, and in their own way, they are, aren't they? They've had to battle some real adversity this season.
yeah.
Uh, Fair play, but it's not been good enough from Liverpool. But I do think they'll have too much for Bournemouth because Bournemouth have been in awful form since about October. They really have just been a shadow of the Bournemouth from last season. Um, and obviously now they've lost the talisman. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, let's move on to Sunday's games. Is 3 2 o'clock games, and then 4 o'clock. We've got Brentford at home to Forest. Expect a Brentford win here. Forest not being great in the Premier League this season again.
I
Um,
think so. I think Dyche is struggling. He just no. There's only
a
so
little
much you
bit,
can
yeah,
do with no striking. You can set the system up all you want. You can have all the tactical play up to the final third correctly. If you haven't got a striker who can finish the move, you're always in a struggle. Brentford super organised. They'll probably try and out Sean Dyche, with some long throws and set pieces. And obviously Brentford have looked really, really good this season. Thiago's in great form.
sharply.
The defense is well drilled. Um, so yeah, I think Brentford at home at the minute. You look at last weekend, and as frustrating as it was from an Arsenal point of view, it could have been 3 or 4-0. Phenomenal save by Sells, couple of chances here and there that should have been Martinelli's, which hits his heel and goes wide. So it's not like Arsenal weren't creating chances, and I don't think Forest had a shot on goal again. So and I get that Arsenal defense is better than Brentford's, but when you actually drill past the 0-0, which was clearly a very good point for Forest, um, there wasn't a great performance in there. And Brentford have been playing well, so I think Brentford will have too much for Forest. Don't think it'll be massively complicated for them, and I think Brentford will win it 2-0.
I'm going to go
In
for
my
a 3-1 Brentford win on this one. Scoring lots of goals out. They're playing really well. Up in the
Yeah,
nosebleeds at the minute in the league. As tight as it is, they're
absolutely,
still up there.
unbelievable.
Um,
Unbelievable. At the minute, I don't care who wins the Premier League. In my mind, it's a toss up at the minute between Sunderland and if those two maintain those positions, it's a toss up between those two for manager of the season. I clearly love Arteta, love what he's done, love what he's doing. But if those two maintain those heights, that is unbelievable on every level for those two managers and the two squads clearly. But obviously, when we if we're gonna beat the shit out of the managers when they do badly, then you've got to heap them with plaudits when they're doing well and
Absolutely, yeah, yeah,
doing amazing. And if they can maintain anything like that, it must be so frustrating for them because they've done amazing over 22. You're obviously more than half, nearly 2/3 of the way there now, aren't you? And kind of
yeah.
you just think if they can just keep it up, which is why I said what Sunderland have done is so impressive to survive this Afcon devastation that they've been through the last 4 or 5 weeks. So yeah, I think Brentford will have too much, but I think phenomenal from both Brentford and maybe some about playing in red and white stripes. Maybe you all have got it wrong. Maybe you should change jerseys. That might cause a bit of uproar at St James's Park. When here's the 2026-27 kit. We're going to red and white stripes. Is that all right, people? Don't worry, it's white and red stripes. It's not the same as Sunderland.
Just change the TV settings so that it comes up black and white. There's a way around it. But
I'm
yeah,
not sure that
no,
works. Not
we,
sure that
we
works in the ground though, does it? Have some 1950s glasses. Oh
just
look.
stab yourselves in the eyes. Like, no, never happening. Uh, moving on. Palace at home against Chelsea. Chelsea still plugging away, getting some good results. Settling into his role pretty well, the new Chelsea manager. Palace are imploding internally by the look of things. Sell your captain, losing your manager at the end of the season. losing Mateta. What's happening at Palace and how much Chelsea going to
Well,
embarrass?
it's always a risk for a club like Palace, isn't it? Like Glasner was clearly holding it all together. Success breeds um, that bond of unity. But obviously, like 2 years ago they lost Elise. Obviously, they lost Eze over the summer. Guehi's gone now. Like you say, there's people. I mean, like I've said to you boys since August, July time, I would have snapped. I still would right now. You look at Arsenal's main challenge about that main focal point. They won't do it, but I still think it would be unbelievable from an Arsenal point of view to step in and hijack that deal. I think Mateta could do great things at our place. I still think, even with what you've got, it would make sense for Newcastle to step in and take him. So
I don't understand why no
with
one's
the
coming for him.
you what, sorry?
I don't understand why nobody's coming for him.
It Yeah, it's one of those. It's
Strange, isn't it?
absolutely a mystery. It really is a mystery. But so yeah, it's all going wrong at Palace. I don't think Glasgow will even last to the end of the season. If you're having outbursts like that, then you're just causing more problems. And it's almost like he's worked out that if he waits to the end of the season, he gets no payoff, and he can get himself sacked with a few games to go, he might still pocket an extra couple of million quid, which is really poor. But what's the point in that outburst? If you know you're going at the end of the season, there's no need for that outburst, is there? Because why would they buy your players? You're leaving. So if you say I want Fred Bloggs, well, what if the next manager doesn't want Fred Bloggs and we've just wasted a shitload of cash on a player the new manager doesn't want? That's just stupid. So it is crazy. They've done well to get money for Guehi because to be fair to him, he was really open about saying he wouldn't be playing from next season. So, at the end of the day, you've got a choice as Palace, haven't you? I think is it every Premier League place is worth 2 million quid. There's no
Something
way
like that,
Crystal
yeah.
Palace are going to. There's no way Crystal Palace are going to drop 10 places because of selling Mark Gehi. So the reality is, pocketing the 20 million for him is more beneficial than what he would have done from in the table. Um, as much as that might irritate Glasner's, let's face it, most football managers got no idea about finances, commercials, or how to run a business. In fact, none of them do. So, gone are those days of your likes of your Fergusons and your Wengers who understood how to actually run a football club and overlap the money with the sporting side. So they don't get it, which is why they all act like children on these bloody interviews and make themselves look bloody stupid. But it's all going wrong at Palace. There must be so disruption inside that dressing room. And I think in the end, that's what will make it easy for Chelsea. You say settle straight in that new manager. I'm not that impressed with what I've seen. I'm not going to lie. In terms of I don't think he's done a great deal. But then again, to be fair to him, he wasn't brought in to do a great deal. He was brought in to do as he's told. Like that. That is what Chelsea want from their manager. So that's what he's come in. That's what he's done. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Cole Palmer's still a Chelsea player come the end of January, because he must be pissed off because they're well off the pace from a Premier League point of view, and the odd cup win. Cole Palmer came up through Manchester City's academy. They're bred to win everything, and he must be looking around going, now absolutely Chelsea trying to build a brand and they're going for the odd cup win and all that sort of thing, but they're not obsessed with winning every trophy
No.
every single year, and that's what's bred into that Manchester City academy. Top academies, like Arsenal's academy, like City's academies, they're bred and expected to win everything, and that's what they grow up. It's just part and parcel of the DNA. So to then go to a club where that's not the DNA must be very unsettling. Um, and obviously, he's been frustrated this year with injuries and stuff, and obviously that disrupts your mentality, doesn't it? Because you spend more time away from the team, you're not in the environment. It helps anyway. So Chelsea aren't in a great place either. I don't think. To be honest, you look at um, last week's result. It was all right, but it was a win they should have got. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't difficult. And you look again. I know I'm biased as an Arsenal fan, but you look at the semi-final game and again, the scoreline probably doesn't reflect the stats and the actual match. If you'd watched the highlights of that match and not known the score, there's no way you would have predicted that match finished 3-2. So um, I might well be forced to eat my words if the semi-final goes wrong at the Emirates, but I can't see it happening. So I do think Chelsea will have too much, but I think a really, really scrappy, messed up game. I don't think either club's in a great place right now, but we'll say that Chelsea take it 2-1.
I'm going to
Two
go
goals to
2-0 Chelsea. Yeah, just
I
two.
am torn. It depends on the Mateta. It depends on the Mateta starts or whether he's already gone.
Uh,
But yeah,
where is he going?
I'll stick with two.
Where is he supposed to be going?
Well, that depends which reports you listen to, doesn't it? So some
Fair enough.
reports say Villa have already done the deal. Some reports say that Tottenham have been in for him. Some reports that Chelsea have been in for him as a short, because obviously they don't mind it because supposedly he's going on the cheap, and they've got question marks over Liam Delap. Can he actually lead the line? João Pedro's maybe not as physical as they would like. If you're going, well, do you know what? It's a really, really cheap buy in the scheme of football signings. And actually, if that gets us over the line, gets us further in the Champions League, and gets us over the line in terms of the Premier League position, because the worst thing for Chelsea is the model only works if they get into the Champions League, and they are flirting. Thanks to Villa's unbelievable form, they are flirting very, very real in very, very real terms of not getting in the Champions League next season because it's highly. Clearly, they're in the competition, but it's highly unlikely that Chelsea win the Champions League. So you look at it now, you would say, again, we'll see with Villa whether they wobble or not, but fundamentally, you would say the top three currently are clear.
Yeah.
You would expect Liverpool to continue to click into gear and it get better for Liverpool because they've gone through a horrendous patch that they won't repeat again, as much as we all found it amusing it happened, but they won't repeat it again. They're too good for that. Obviously, you're going to tell me that your boys aren't going to let it slip and are going to keep getting better and better. I'd question. We'll come on to that, but I'd question that maybe because I've always, me, since day one, I like to think I'm not a hypocrite. I like them consistent. I've always said to you since the day he was appointed, I don't think Eddie Howe's the man. I think Eddie Howe is like Mark Hughes. He's the man before the man. And I think he's taken him as far as he can take him. So I would question whether or not. But anyway, that aside, you got Man United who might or might not bounce under Carrick. Certainly look more organised and certainly it's like the Ollie bounce, isn't it? Where they're just going to look like they're Manchester United again for a bit. But either way, Chelsea have a real risk of not getting Champions League football because they're right in the mix. They're right in the mess of it. And if I'm sat at the top of that board going, well, 20, 30 million quid, I can nick Mateta. And actually, that might be the difference between, if he gets me 6 or 7 goals, that might be the difference of making sure I secure top 5, which we think it'll be top 5. Or I might get dragged back into the shit in the Europa League. The Europa League would be absolute fucking failure for Chelsea. All ends up because the model's designed, like we just said there, with the rich get. I think might have said before we came on air. The model's designed to be one of those Champions League teams that's getting richer and richer and richer and richer. It doesn't work if they don't get Champions League. So we'll see. I mean, like I say, I'd love to think at that sort of cheap price Arsenal will step in and just blow everyone out the water. Because let's face it, he wouldn't choose anybody else if Arsenal came in for him. But I don't see it happening, which is really sad because I do still get, shivers every time I get told that Eze's an Arsenal player. It still cheers me up. But yeah, so I think Chelsea. Back to what we're actually talking about. So I think Chelsea win it 2-1. I think Chelsea edge it 2-1, but I think both teams are making hard work of that game. I think.
So that's you 2-1, and me 2-0, both Chelsea. Newcastle Villa, St James's Park.
You
Now,
can lead.
Villa don't like to come to St James's Park. We have a good record at Villa at home. But Villa, I can't see Villa slipping up like they did last week against Everton either. Villa
Why?
played tonight in Europe. I just want a great performance away from them, and they've been really consistent all season. Well, since they started scoring goals, so recently they've been really good. Ollie Watkins
You
is
looked really good in Europe. You guys scored 3 in Europe this week.
yeah, we had a good performance from the shit show that was at the weekend where we drew 0-0 with Wolves. Really poor performance. Just didn't take his chances, and we get punished if you don't take chances. Wolves had a couple of chances as well; they didn't take them. To be fair, Wolves could have won it 1-0, to be fair, towards the end. Mane, that player, the young lad, missed a great chance. But yeah, if we turn up like we did against PSV last night at home and the crowd's there again, behind us like they were the other night, I fancy us to win 2-1. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw as well. Bruno could be missing. It'd be a big loss if he's not playing. Um, Nice little touch for Miley as well. Little Lewis Miley, 19-year-old, getting the captain armband. Nice little touch that. Must be a massive moment for him. A huge moment for him. But he's been playing really well. Lewis Hall's been great as well at left back. Yeah, I fancy us 2-1. I think Villa are dangerous, obviously. Watkins is back. Backfiring again. What about you? Do you see that one?
Found out that is it Kamara's out for the rest of the season though. That's a
Yeah,
bit
for
of
the
a
rest of the season now.
kick. I'm sure I read that a couple of days ago, which is a bit of a shocker for him. But it's I don't. I'm not gonna lie. I am no idea where to go in this game at all. I think Newcastle's form has been like a roller coaster this season. They've had some. I've watched them have some unbelievable performances, and then watched them play some absolute dross.
Yeah.
Like sometimes at times they look like they're playing like they don't even know each other. Whereas other times they're back to the Newcastle that I expect, which is kind of high octane, disrupt. I think we said before, from my opinion as an Arsenal fan, it's a very disruptive style of play because they don't play systemic football. They do play much more like 90s football that messes with the system teams, which is great to see. And it's nice to know it's got its place, but they seem to struggle to pull it out of the bag every week to play like that, which I guess if you're a system team coach like a Guardiola and Arteta, that's why you go, well, that's why we play system football because you can't do that every week, whereas you can do this every week. So maybe that's an argument for it. I don't know. I think it's a much more interesting style of football to watch. Is what Newcastle play when they're on form. Villa, same. They've looked unstoppable at times, but then obviously start of the season they were awful, and they've had a few. Last weekend wasn't a great result. Getting punted 4-1 by us, won't have helped, and they're carrying injuries. So a lot of it might well come down to whether Guimaraes is fit or not, because I think Newcastle's
Massive
midfield might well
influence
have
for
too
us.
much for them. Yeah, I think if he's fit, then they're a much. I mean, we've said before. I think if when Bruno's fit or when they're all fit, Newcastle got one of the strongest midfield threes in the league. And I mean strong in terms of how they play together as well as physically strong. And I do think they might well have too much for Villa in the centre of the parks. If certainly Guimaraes is playing them, and they might well have it if he's not playing. But I think they certainly will if he is playing. So that could hinge it. I'm going to go for a draw because it could be anything. Like,
Yeah.
and I know draw doesn't help either of you, but I genuinely think, you know, I do really at the minute have sort of Newcastle and Villa in that same sort of bracket of the same sort of level bracket overall as to where you both sit in terms of club development and where you both want to go. And um, I could just, yeah, I just think I don't think they're capable of playing out a boring game between them. So I think it'd be a really exciting
Should be
game.
a good
But I
watch, yeah.
think I don't know which way to go. So I'm gonna risk those splinters in my ass and say it'll be a draw off the middle of that fence. Thank you very much. So let's go for that. Don't worry, I won't make you
Oh,
pick them out. It's fine.
oh, fucking hell. Well, we may as well move on to your boys. You guys have got Man United at home. Where are you Man United fans for this one? I see a comfortable win for yourselves again. I think 2-0 for you boys
Man
is
United
my
fans, the
initial.
same place they always are, sat in Southeast Asia watching on telly. There's no Man United fans in this country, is there? Honestly, get a grip. So, this is just going to be, boom boom, shake the room. It's welcome to the Emirates. Game over. We rested players and demolished one of the best teams in Europe on Tuesday. Played the second team, went abroad to one of the biggest and best stadiums in Europe against high flying, Serie A leaders, and took them apart with a second team. Because we were resting players for this match, And I was saying that my old man's a Man United fan, not in Southeast Asia, funnily enough, but he's a Man United fan. And and I was saying I didn't give monkeys about the Inter match. I would have taken a loss against Inter as long as we rested players ready for the Man United match. That's all that matters. Premier League is all that matters. We're probably going to watch Man City win. Probably likely to watch Liverpool win. As much as I've said, they're probably not a problem. Who knows? Hopefully, they won't watch the Villa match because they should be warming up. But the Premier League is all that matters. So winning that match is all that matters. I do think it's a different challenge for Man United. Yes, they looked more fired up and more organised last weekend. I mean, to be absolutely crystal fair to them, they could have won that match 4-5-6-0, and it wouldn't have been surprising. Again, I mean, I was actually out last weekend, so hadn't seen it until the highlights. And I'll be honest, I watched it with my boy, and he was nudging me like, "Dad, they could have scored loads." I'm like, it was so insane, but City's defence was awful, and I don't just mean the way they played. I mean, when you actually look at who played in defence, I don't think they had a single first team defender on the pitch, like the teenagers and stand-ins. And I know they've been decimated by injuries, but their backline was awful. And obviously, you look at Rodri's performance midweek against Bodo Glint, and clearly Rodri's not on form at the minute. So I do think that made it easy for Manchester United. as well as the fact they were fired up for Derby, as well as the fact they were fired up because and they'll be don't get me wrong, they'll be unbelievably fired up for this match. Michael Carrick's from the era of when Arsenal and Man United were proper rivals. We're not now. The rivalry is a pale shadow of what it was because Man City now in the picture and Liverpool have stepped up, and our sort of rivalry's faded into one that people my age remember rather than so I guess youngster fans remember. But they'll be fired up for it, no doubt, because Carrick's from that era. But we are a far more powerful defensive unit than Manchester City. We're a far better drilled team than Manchester. I would say that with the Manchester City. The reason I say that is because obviously our team. I think we talked about at the start of the season. Our team has now been together for the best part of 3, if not 4 years, most of the core of that team. Whereas we talked at the start of the season, Liverpool and Man City had a lot of signings to bed in and try
Yeah.
and meld it all together, which Arteta's not had that problem this season. I think it's shown over the course. And so I think Arsenal will be too strong for Manchester United. I do think Manchester United will come and play the same way they play against City. They'll park the bus. They'll look for the outball to Ahmad and to Mbeumo. I think Bruno, it'll be a case of win the ball deep in defence, get it to Bruno. Bruno plays the Hollywood pass, and hopefully Mbeumo, Ahmad, and probably, well, no, Mbeumo's probably going to play in the centre, isn't he? So Dorgu, Ahmad, and Mbeumo probably just hopefully, with pace counter and hope they can get the overload. And I think it's the same strategy so many teams adopt at the Emirates. Everybody comes to the Emirates and sits deep, even Manchester City, which is why Arsenal get accused of playing anti-football, because what are you supposed to do against that? You can't play football against that, can you? Your only option is to look for, I think get quick passes, but it makes it difficult to play proper football. I think I was watching something on That's Football this week and said the reason the Intermatch was so entertaining from an Arsenal point of view was the fact Inter actually came at us. So we actually got an actual game of football, and you got to see the fact that Arsenal are still more than capable of playing football. You just don't get it in the Premier League because everyone's terrified of the fact that Arsenal can play football, and therefore they just sit deep and try and counter, and it's very difficult. But we're the best in the world at breaking down that. That's why everyone cries about the set piece thing, because fundamentally, like it or not, what Arsenal have learned is if you're going to face that every week, you've got to be the best at set pieces every week, because that's your number one chance on the second ball to break down a deep sitting defence. So Man United can't defend set pieces. Arsenal, the best team in the country at set pieces. They'll make it difficult for us on the break because they've got pace, they've got quality, they'll be fired up, but they won't have enough. So I'm not going to go quite as gung ho as normal, because I think they probably. It's Man United, and I've probably still got all my memories of growing up of every time, almost every single horrific result we had was against Manchester United, and they took every single. They ended our famous invincible run, which I'll never forgive them for. But Arsenal 2, Manchester United 1. I think they'll get a goal on the break, but I do think that I think overall the match will be comfortable, but I think they'll get a goal on the break. I'd like to think we score more, but just at the minute, I don't think our strikers have particularly got their striking boots on, even though there's a bit more competition now. So 2-1 Arsenal. And I'll probably spend a lot of that match hidden behind the sofa because it won't be comfortable enough. But hopefully, I'll be completely wrong and we'll dance through to a 4 or 5-0 win. But I think it'll be a lot closer
Should
than that.
It should be a good watch, to be fair. Like you say, it's got old school vibes about it, hasn't it? It's like we carried back in the seat. Man United smashing City last week. You won't hear me say a lot, but they did.
Well, I think from an Arsenal point of view, the other thing, Arteta's team talk becomes really easy, doesn't it? We're always being compared to City. We're always being questioned who's the best. If you can put that statement winning against Manchester United when they've just beaten City 2-0, it's fresh in the mind, isn't it? It's fresh in the mind that United have just beaten City 2-0. So if you can beat United, it's double the statement because you've beaten United and everyone knows United just beat your closest rivals. So it's an even bigger statement if we win. So I think you look at the team selection on Tuesday. It's the only reason, and I say weak. I'm aware that Arsenal got the strongest squad in probably world football at the minute. But we went weak against Inter Milan. And the only reason he's done that is not because he doesn't respect Inter Milan, it's because he absolutely respects the challenge we've got against Manchester United on Sunday and the absolute importance of getting 3 points against Man United on Sunday. And it's crucial. And I just think that we'll see. I hope the weekend shows that this Arsenal team's got a very different mentality to previous years. So, yeah, what about you? Where do you think it's going?
2-1, I said. Sorry, I said 2-0. I don't even think they'll score. I think you'll be far too superior. Your defence is absolutely rock solid, and I just think you'll just manage the game really well.
I
In
hope
weird
so.
ways.
Like I say, my memories are always just it's always my only positive. Actually, not my only positive to be fair, because we've already beaten them this season, haven't we? But the the one positive, the is it over the last few years, it's been Marcus Rashford, who's always haunted our dreams. Do you know what I mean? It's always been that little bugger who scored, and clearly he can't do that from Barcelona, can he? So, you know,
No, you
hopefully,
can't.
I'll,
Might
I'll
be on
be
his way
praying
back
for a
though.
company. I'll be praying for a company. He won't come back. Do you know what? I mean,
Not a
that's my
chance.
take on it. He'd have to be absolutely mental to come back. He's, from all accounts I can read and find anywhere, he's loving his time in Barcelona. Why on earth would you come back from Barcelona to the absolute horror show that is Man United right now? Like
Yeah.
even if things go as well as Man United want, there is so many months of hard work and hard yards, and he can just chill out in Barcelona. It's all organised. It's nice and warm. He's enjoying his teammates. He's loving his life out there. You know, the perfect chance to get into the World Cup squad. So he's doing out there. If he gets dragged back to Man United, there's every chance he misses out on the World Cup squad because he won't
Yeah.
play every week, and he might not re-find his form because he won't be happy. So if you
Yeah,
ask me,
that relationship's tarnished, isn't it? To be fair,
it's
it's
it's the
done.
old classic, isn't it? We said it last week or the week before. Like, you should never go back. Like you shouldn't, Ragnar Lothbrok in it. Don't look backwards. You're not going that way. Forwards, always forwards. There's a reason why the windscreen is like 20 times the size of the rearview mirror. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a good
So
point. It's a very good point. The last game this weekend in game week 23 is Everton host Leeds on Monday night, 8 o'clock. Everton with a cheeky little win against Villa last weekend, and Leeds also maintaining a win against Fulham last weekend, 1-0. So yeah, so it's Monday night football quite well, doesn't it? What do you see of this one, Phil?
it does, and I'd I don't know. Yeah, Everton have been in great form. Leeds have been in great form. I mean, obviously, long time fan Reese will be very excited about that. Although, I think himself and our Nathan are dealing with a few bits at the minute. So, just quick shout out to you boys. The thoughts are with you both,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
get through it. There's just some things that are more important than football, and that would definitely be one of them. But we're here to talk about football. So, I think Leeds have been in great form, which and carried on that form last weekend with the win. All right, there's not 2, 3, 4, 5-0 win, but it's still an impressive win. It's still more points on the board. There's still, uh, like I said to you, I'm so pleased for the manager they're playing for him because it's brilliant to see that they're stuck with him, both the board and the players. I know the fans wobbled, but it's interesting how quickly they come back in line when you get a few performances on the go. Which and Everton haven't looked great, and you know didn't really look great last weekend. It's not like it was a Man United type performance in City. Like they didn't look like they were rampant against Villa. Do you know what I mean? It was just that game could have gone either way. It could have very easily been a 0-0 draw, quite easily. So I think Leeds. I fancy Leeds to go across the Pennines. I mean, I always fancy White Rose crossing the Pennines and smashing the Red Rose because that's just what we do in it. But it'd be nice to see it happen again. It's always nice to put the Lancs back in their place in it. So
Yeah.
and I know they'll all be screaming at this now. We're not Lancs, we're Merseysiders. You Lancs, go over it. You're all to the left of the Pennines. You're on the wrong side. But Leeds will cross the Pennines. Leeds will take the win. Leeds will win by 2 goals to 1.
It's 2-1.
What? Listen, think yourself lucky. I steered clear of saying the phrase "white is right." So I didn't say that, did I? Talking roses, people, roses.
I'm gonna share the points on this one. I'm gonna go one apiece. Oh, once I've stopped being red myself. Oh God,
Flip that one
brilliant.
up.
I like it. It's yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go one apiece. I think it'd be a tight game. It'd be an edgy one. Maybe one of the. It could go either way for me. Yeah,
It's not going either way. You just said. You said it going for a
I
draw.
say it could go. It could go either way. It could go either way. But yeah, I can't split these two, so I'm gonna go one apiece just based on last week's performances. Both had a good, both had a good win. Both got 3 points. Massive 3 points for both clubs. To be fair, looking at the bottom of the league. Um, so yeah, that's where I'm sat on that one. So interesting round of football this weekend.
Well, we couldn't be much more wrong than we were last weekend, could we? Because they weren't. I don't think we picked a lot of those results last weekend. Although obviously we picked the Tottenham result, but that's kind of a given these days. But we'll we'll.
It's like Tottenham are my second club this week. It's just, no, we're not having it. We're not having it.
I'm not gonna lie, at the minute, because of the way they all feel, because of the way they all feel, because of the way that I read and I hear the way the Spurs fans feel, I kind of just want Thomas Frank to keep just doing enough to hold on because it's even raised the Spurs fans even more that they just don't want him there. So that if he can just cling on a little bit, I like Thomas Frank anyway, but if he can just cling on a bit, his very survival pisses off his own fans. Do you know what? There was one caller on Talksport this week. The best he could come up with was, "I don't like the way he chews gum." Oh yeah, that seems like a sensible reason to sack a man who's on millions of pounds a year and is one of the most elite managers in the world. I mean, even if you said he's only in the top 50 managers in the world, that would still put him in the elite football managers in the world. And you want to sack him because of the way he chews gum? Honestly, there's a reason that football fans are often seen as stupid. I mean, that's just got to be right up there, hasn't it? I don't like the way you chew gum. I mean, in all the you realise we've got employment law in the UK, right? Like, I'm reasonably sure you can't cite the way you chew gum as a reason to sack somebody. I mean, maybe we could get him mentally sectioned for the fact he took the Tottenham job and thought he'd get good results. But I mean, that might be one way of doing it. But I just want him to hold on because it seems like his own fans dislike him more than, than anybody else. And obviously, it's nice to have an Arsenal fan in the Tottenham dugout. He's very honest, isn't it? Let's be honest. Give him a mug, let him have it. Come out in an Arsenal jacket, we'll sponsor him. So
So get one of them big
good
ones
luck,
like Wenger used
Thomas
to have,
Frank.
where he couldn't find his pockets.
Oh dear,
Pulls out Pedro.
good old Spurs. They're always going to keep us cheerful, aren't
Poor old Spain.
they?
Join us next week for some more Spurs bashing, as always.
Oh, well, we're Spurs fans here. Don't you try and tarnish me. It's
I
tough
guess I'm
love. That's
correct.
what it
I'm not
is.
even going there. Wow.
It's tough love. You know what I mean? You gotta be.
Is
It's like
that
when
the
you're
new
hard on
signing?
your.
Oh, no. Sorry.
You are sorry.
I was going to say, is that their new signing? Tough love. Where's he from?
Fresh out of Afcon. I only took them penalties. Penenka special. Oh dear.
Oh,
What are
wow.
you? What are
Well,
you like?
it's been a great show as always, Phil. Thanks for joining. We'll
It's always a pleasure.
we'll touch base next week and go over what we predicted and see where we're at after the results next week. Guys, if you like what we do, if you like how we predict our matches in the Premier League, please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment. If you want to get involved, put your predictions in, put them in the comments. We'll read them out. And, see if you can outscore us. Most likely you can, based on last week. Shit. But yeah, we're not Spurs fans. We just thought I'd add that in before we leave. But yeah, great show.
Can I just give one last hot take before we go?
Go for it.
If anyone is planning to go to the World Cup, you'll have seen by now on the news that the scandalous inflation of the price of flights to get to the World Cup is outrageous, right? We don't do current affairs on this channel, clearly. We're a football channel. However, what I would say, my hot take, right, is if you've got any chance right now, book yourself a flight to Greenland, because I almost guarantee at least one of the matches will be moved there, and you can get flights cheap right now. So fly yourself there, the match will be moved, and then you get tickets nice and easy. Get it done.
Brilliant.
You heard it here first.
Absolutely top financial and travel advice from Phil. Join us again next week for more of that. But that's from us at ManGuard. Good evening. Take care. Look after each other. And we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Enjoy your weekend,
See you later,
folks.
guys. Take care.
Ta-da.
Thanks, Phil. Good night.